Percentage. One of the most useful topic, not just for maths, but also for our daily life. I'm showing you everything that you need to know for the basic percentage for higher and foundation. Woohoo! We have 8 parts in this session, from converting to percentage, decimal to fraction, all the way to problem solving. Let's have a look of converting between percentage and decimal and fractions. One of the first very basic skill that you need to know is how to convert between these three. 21%. 21% means out of 100 grids, there are 21 colored. That's 20, and that's 1. Out of 100 small squares, 21 of them are square. That's what I mean by 21%. So look at this diagram. For each row, there are 10. So in total, I have 50. In order for me to write that in the 3 forms, I can write down 50 is out of 100. Or that basically means 5 over 10 or 1 over 2.5. Every time I know that what is out of 100, that numerator is going to be telling me the percentage. That is 50%. 50% is a half already. In order for me to write on the decimal, I need to know the place value name. That is tenths, that is hundredths. Well, because out of 100, I need these 2 boxes. And I have 2 digits, 5 and 0, so I put 5 and 0 there. I need a 0 at the front to tell me as a placeholder to fill that space for the unit is less than 1 unit. So my answer is 0.50. However, this 0 is meaningless. It's not even a placeholder. I don't need it to hold that place for me. So an even better answer will be 0.5. That one is acceptable. One more example. I got 5 here. So fraction is 5 out of still 100 grids. If you simplify it down, you can divide it by 5 and divide it by 5, and that will be 20. That will be 1. So this is 5 out of 100 or 1/20th. Then I know the percentage will be the numerator out of the 100. That is 5%. I need to now fill in my decimal because I know that I have the percentage here. I know that it's out of my hundredths. I have 5, but I got 2 boxes, so I need to put 0.5, and I need a placeholder. So for the decimal, it's 0.05. One more, 30. 30 out of 10, 100, equal 3 out of 10. Percentage is my numerator, 30. Decimal, out of these 2 boxes, I need 30, 0. So 0.30 acceptable, 0.3 even better. This one, I don't have 100 grids. In each row is 10 boxes and 3 are colored. So here I got 3 out of 10. In total, I have 6 out of 20. I don't have the 100 grid to help me to write it as percentage or decimal. I only have the fraction. So what you need to do is make more, copy more. That I have out of 20 boxes, 40 boxes, 60 in total up to here, 80 up to here, and all the way now I got 100 boxes. If I combine that, you will see I have now 30 out of altogether 100. You may want a quicker method. I have 6 out of 20. And I need to force the denominator to be 100, so as if I have 100 grid to help me out. 20, to make it into 100, I can times it by 5. I will do the same for my numerator so that I have 30. Now I have a fraction, so I can have my answer as 30 out of 100. Or my percentage is 30 out of 100. And my decimal. One more example on this. I have 4 out of 25 equal, I need to force the denominator into 100. 25 to make into 100 times it by 4. I do the same, 16. So fractions will be 16 out of 100 if it's not simplified. 16%, and I will have 0.16 as my decimal. That is just basically means that I have make it more to make it into 100 grid, and I have out of 16 in total. So remember, when you see percentages, you need to think about 100 grid. To help you out, look at the percentage symbol. That is a hint there for you. Because the percentage symbol basically consists of 1, 0, and 0. And that means 21 out of 100. And that means that is 0.21. Let's do 4 really quickly. 33 out of 100, it will be my fraction, 0.33 as my decimal. 30 out of 100, or I can simplify it down to 0.3 over 10. Then the place value I'll need on the tenths, I need the 3. Or on the tenths, hundreds, I need 30. So that is the better answer because I don't need the end 0. 3% will be 3 out of 100. It will be tenths, hundreds. I need to fill these two places, and then 0, 3. So my answer is 0.03. 300% means 300 out of 100. That means it's 3 as a fraction. Then for my decimal, it's also 3 because it's 3.0. Let's look at some exam question. Foundation question 1. What is 1 over 4 as a percentage? Well, you're going to think I can make it into 20, times it by 5. That means that times by 5. 5 out of 20, I need to force it into 100, times it by 5 again. Times it by 5 again. So it's 5 times 5, 25. 25 out of 100 means that is 25% for 1 mark. Another one. Circle the percentage that is between half and 3/4. Hopefully, by GCSE time, you may be able to remember those very key percentage or fractions. Half is equivalent to 50%. 3/4 is equivalent to 75%. And which one is in between those two numbers? 40 is too low. 60, yes. 80 is too high. 90 is too high. Part 2. Percentage of an amount. We have calculator method and non-calculator method. I'm going to show you both because it can be on both papers. Finding 15% of 80. So I need to find out 10%. 10% is quite useful and important in this when we're finding percentage. When we're converting 100 grid is the important part. When we're finding percentage, 10% is good. So 10% means 1/10 of 80, means divide 80 by 10. That is 8. To find out 5%, I need half of the 10. Half 10 give me 5. I have 8 it will give me 4. So 15% means 10% add 5% means 8 add 4, 12. That is a non-calculator method. In the calculator, you have two options. Option 1, you find out 80 times 15 and using the percentage symbol in your calculator. However, most students will forget to type in the symbol and then they will make 80 times 15 as a careless mistake. That's why I'm not recommending this. Another option is use the decimal. Sometimes we can call it a multiplier to refer to the decimal that we use to find the percentage. 80 times 15%. 15%, you remember how to make it into decimal? 15 out of 100. That means that I need the tens, 100. To fill that place, I got 2 digits. So times 0.5. And then you use your calculator, 80 times 0.15. That will give me 12. So both answers are correct. Next one, find 150% of 80. I know 100%. 100% is that number itself. 50%, it will be 40. 150%, it will be 80 add the 40. That make 120. Let's use calculator. 80 times 150%. That means 80 times, I write it as my multiplier. Multiplier means decimal. 1.50 or 1.5. In your calculator, 80 times 1.5. Yes, that gives me 120 for calculator paper. 62% of 50. This time, I know that you were able to find out 50% and then find out 10%, find out 2%. You were able to find out 62% slowly when you work out the amount. I would like to tell you a mathematical knowledge that it will help you to make these questions a lot easier. The answer is 31. How can I work it out so quick? Because I know that 62% of 50 is the same as 50% of 62. Because I know fraction, 62 out of 100 times 50 is the same as 50 out of 100 times 62. Because that I can write it as over 1. 62 times 50 over 100 equal 50 times 62 over 100. These two are basically the same. By using this piece of knowledge, I know I'm going to find 50% of 62. 50% means half 62, so the answer is 31. Let's try an exam question. 10% of 2,100 is 210. Work out 43% of 2,100. They have already worked out for you the 10%, so you need to find out 40%. 210 times 4. 0 times 4, 0. 1 times 4, 4. 2 times 4, 8. I need to find out 1% so that I can find out 100%. If 10% is 210, I need 1/10 of it, so 21. 3% will be times it by 3, 63. 43%, I need to have 40 and 3% add together. 840 add 63, 3, 10, 9. So the answer is 903. If this happened in a calculator paper, you just need to do this. Because 43% is a decimal or multiplier, is 0.43. So I've double checked, my answer is correct. Another one. Work out 65% of 300. You have two options. You can find out 50%, find out 10%, find out 5%, and you will have 65% in total. 50% is half of it, 150. 10% of 300 is 30. I use my 10%, halve it to find my 15%, so is 15. You add this column up, that is 5. 5 add 3 is 8. 8 add 1 is 9. And that is 1. Option 2 is I'm going to find out 300% of 65. Basically means 65 times it by 3. 65 times 3. 5 times 3, 15. 6 times 3, 18. Add the 1, 195. It will give me the same answer. Let's go to part 3. Percentage increase, decrease. Again, I'm going to show you calculator and non-calculator methods. Increase 50 by 10%. That means I have originally got 50, let's say £50, and then I grow the money more. I grow 10% more. Well, I'm expecting my answer to be more than 50. By 10% means that I need to find out the 10%. 10% of 50 is 5. After the increase, I will basically have 110%. That means that I'm going to add 5 to the 50. So 50 add the 5, I will have 55 at the end. For a calculator method, I know that 50 at the end it will become 110%. And then I can use my multiplier times 1.1. And in the calculator, 50 times 1.1, 55. I've confirmed that my answer are correct. Decrease 50 by 10%. So this time, I will need to find out 10% of 50, which is 5. Is 5 less than 50? Therefore, my answer is going to be 50. Take away 5 equal 45. If it's in the calculator paper, well, I know decrease by 10% means that I only have 90% left. And 90% as a multiplier is going to be 0.9. 50 times 0.9 is 45. Same as my non-calculator method. This table is a really useful table to show you what actually has happened here is, if I know 100%, I divide it by 10, I will able to have my 10%. The value times it by 2 or whatever percentage that we need, we get the percentage. Or we can use 10 divided by 2 to find out my 5%. If I want percentage increase, I use my 100 add to my 10%. If I want percentage decrease, like 95%, I use my 100% take away from my 5%. It will give me the 95%. This shows the relationships with what is the adding, what is take away easily. Fourth, express a change as a percentage. This is actually the same skill as writing a fraction as a percentage that we have done previously. It just had one extra step first. Exactly the same as this, but before we do that, we need to find out one extra thing, which is the change. The question will look like this. Express the increase from 50 to 66 as a percentage. You're expecting your answer as a percentage. You're going to find out how 50 becomes 66. What percentage increase it actually is. Step 1, you work out the change. The word from 50 is really key because that is my starting point. If that is 50, now it's 66. That means that I have 16 more. So the change is 16. Step 2 is to write it as a fractions. And this, you need to remember it by heart. You need to write the change as a numerator at the top. And the original amount is after the word from. From whatever it is, it will be the original amount. So 50. And I need to write that as a percentage. 16 out of 50, I need to force the denominator into 100. I times it by 2, times it by 2. So 32, that means that is 32% increase that I know. Let's look at express a change, decrease. Express the decrease from 50 to 43 as a percentage. Same step. Work out the change. The change is this time from 50 and go all the way down to 43. So I know it's 7 less. Write it as a fraction. 7 out of the original amount is 50. And convert it as percentage. 7 out of 50. I need to force my denominator to be 100. So I double that. Double 7 as well. So 14 out of 100 is 14%. This time is 14% decrease. Let's have a look of the exam question. This is a crossover question. Work out the percentage increase from 80 to 280. Remember the change over original. First, write down what is the change first. Step 1 is write down the change. From a number, from 80 all the way to 280, well, that is 200 more. So 200 more is the change over the original from 80. Now, I think that is easier if I have to force it into 100. 80 does not go into 100. I can find out 10% first. Divided by 8. Divided by 8. 200 divided by 8. 8 go into 20 2 times, give 16. 4 left, so bring the 0 down. 8 go into 40 5 times, so that is 25. Then now I can find it for 100 times by 10, times it by 10, 250. 250 out of 100 means 250%. And that's how to do a crossover grade 5 topic on percentage increase. This is a little bit tricky because of the numerator is greater than the denominator. Secondly is you have to kind of know divisions to help yourself to divide that by 8. And then you have to remember to times by 10 to make the percentage work for you. Number 5. Simple interest. Calculate the amount in the bank for £200 with a simple interest of 10% over 2 years. So I can do it by breaking it down into 3 steps. First, I need to work out the interest for 1 year. Every year they give me 10%. So the first year, 10% of 200 will give me £20. The interest for both years, the first years give me 20, second years give me another 20. I double that, means times it by 2. That is the total interest that I earn over the 2 years. The amount in the bank, including the 200 that belongs to me initially, it will be 200 at the 40 that the bank give me as a bonus, as interest. I will have 240. Try one more. Calculate the interest earned on £300 with a simple interest rate of 5% over 3 years. If you would like to have a go, you can pause the video now and try it. Interest for 1 year. £300, they give me 5%. So 10% of £300 is 30. 5% is half of 30, means that they give me £15 per year. £15 they give me for the first year, second year, and the third year. So I times it by 3. In total, I will have £45 earned as interest. The amount at the bank at the end will be 300 with the interest that I've earned, 345. That is the answer. Did you get it right? Another example, a past paper example. 1,700 is invested for 3 years at 4% per year. Simple interest. Work out the total interest. Now, this time they did not ask you for the total amount. They only want to know how much you've earned from the bank, from your investment. So, 1 year, it will be 4%. In order for me to find out 4% of 1,700, I'm going to find out 10%, which is 170. Find out 1%, which is 17. In order for me to find out 4%, 17 times 4. Oh, it's a calculator paper, even better. So 17 times 4 is 68. So 4% of 1,700 is 68. Then they put there for 3 years. So total for 3 years will be 68 times it by 3. 204. And that's all they need. They ask for the interest, and that is the interest that over the 3 years for the 4%. Part 6. Repeat percentage change, and it's the same skill as compound interest. A population of ants is 2,500 and increased by 20% each year. Calculate the overall population of ants over 3 years. I can do a slower method, but easier method is I break it down year by year. I'll show you how, and then I show you another method. The first year, originally we have 2,500, and then I'm going to find out it will be increased by 20%, so that means that I will have 120% at the end. I can convert it into my multiplier, 1.2, and I can use my calculator. Most of the time, this type of questions of repeat percentage change or compound interest will be in the calculator paper. That means at the end of the first year, I will have 3,000. Then, for the second year, I'm going to start from 3,000 because from the 31st December to January, that is still the number, 3,000. So I'm using that as my starting point in my second year. Times, I will still have 120%. So 3,000 times 1.2. It will be 3,600 at the end of the second year. And remember, the end point of second year is the starting point of the third year. So 3,600 is my starting point times 120% means 3,600 times 1.2, it will give me 4,320. And by the end of the 3 years, if the increase is a repeat percentage change. Now, a quicker method is write down the starting value. And I know that I'm going to have 120%. And then the whole thing is going to have another 120%. And then another 120%. Means that I will have times 120% 3 times. So I will have it to the power 3. And you are more than welcome to just write it straight away like that, 1.2 to the power 3. That can be your starting point. This is better to explain to you, but you need to have a bracket for your 120% to the power 3. It's the whole thing to the power 3, not just the percentage to the power 3. And then in your calculator, 2,500 times 1.2, and that in your calculator, you will have a button like this. It say X and a box. And I'll recommend you to use that because that you can put whatever number at the corner. So I press that button and then put a 3 in the small corner. That will give me straight away 4,320. So I know that my answer is correct. Let's look at an exam question. The value of a house is 120,000. The value is expected to increase by 5% each year. Work out the expected value after 4 years. Give your answer to two significant figures. That's quite important to remember because they will expect you to round it and they expect that for the final mark. So let's do it the quick way. Start from the amount that the house value initially. And I know that if I increase by 5%, I will have 105%. That means as a decimal, it's 1.05. So times 1.05. The 4 years means that how many times this 1.05 I'm going to times it. I will times it by 4. So that's why I will have to write it to the power 4. In your calculator, 1.05 to the power 4, it will give me 145,860.75. Then read on because I have alert myself that I need two significant figures, means the first two non-zero numbers. My answer will be 14, and then all these places is going to fill with 0. 0 and then 3 more. Don't worry about decimal already because that is a nice round number. So that, and then you can stop and think, does it make sense? Yeah, it starts from 120,000 more every year to move to 140,000. That sounds reasonable. At least my number is not smaller, so I think that is the correct answer. And that's how you double check your work. Another not money related question, but still compound. The number of hedgehogs in England is expected to reduce. This time it's reduced. They bold for you already to remind you it's less now. It's not 104%, but it should be 96% because it's less. So that's why it's 100 take away 4 to give you the 96%. Assume there is now 1 million hedgehogs in England. Work out the expected number of hedgehogs in England after 5 years. So that is my starting point. 1 million times 96%. I can write it as my multiplier, 0.96. 5 years, so to the power 5. In your calculator, 160 times 0.96. And then press that X to the box button, 5. It will give me 815,372.6976. Well, hedgehog is not no decimal, so I'll better round it. 815,373. You can check the math scheme. I remember the math schemes accept round, truncate, or rounding. 7. Reverse percentage. Reverse percentage means finding the original. If 10% of a number is 30, I really need you to understand is, if we have to write a symbol, that means equal, is 30. So something is going to equal 30. What that thing's equal to 30 is 10% of that number equal to 30. So I need to find out the original number. So if I draw the box like this to make it easier for you to see, I have 10 boxes here that represent 100%. So this one must be 10% because 1/10 of it. They say that is 30. They ask you for the value of everything. That means each box is going to be 30. And I will have 10 of this box in total to make up to 100%. So my answer is going to be 300. But it's quite hard for you to draw the boxes if every single question. So there is a quick and more easier way for you to represent your working. Same questions. 10% of a number is 30. What is that number? That what is means equal. 10% equal to 30. My aim to find out 100% because the original number, it must be the full bar, it must be the full amount. And then I know that 10%, I need to times it by 10 to get to 100. I do the same, 30 times 10, it will give me 300. Another question, try. If 20% of a number is 30, what is that number? 20% is 30. Original number means 100%. 20 to make into 100%, I will times it by 5. 30 times it by 5 is going to be 150. If you want to check your answer, you can put in your calculator 150 times 0.2. Does it give me 30? To double check, to reverse check your answer. This one, if 30% of a number is 21, what is that number? You may do the same. 30% is 21. Well, I need to find out 100%. I can't make 30% into 100. I will need a middleman here. I need to divide it by 3 in order for me to get the 10%. 21 divided by 3 is 7. And then in order for me to make 10% into 100%, I'll times it by 10. I'll do the same, 7 times 10 to make 70 here. That's how I do my 70%. Let's try another number. If 40% of a number is 28, so you write 40% equal to 28. My aim is to find out 100%. 100% and 40 does not go straight away, so I need a middleman, 10%. 40 to make 10%, I divide it by 4 first, and I'll times it by 10. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 7 times it by 10 is 70. You can always use a reverse method. So 70 times 0.3 is 21. Check on the left-hand side. 70 times 0.4. Check on the right-hand side is 28. Let's try an exam question. 50% of a number is 40. So 50% is 40. I need to find out 100%. And this time I can just double it up. 40 times 2 is 80. So that is my answer for 1 mark. Another one, which is a crossover questions, 5 marks, at grade 5, 3 marks. The cost of a ticket increased by 10% to £19.25. Work out the original costs. So, increase by 10% means that this time my 19.25 worth more than 100% because it was original price that increased. So that increased to 110%. My aim is still the same. My aim is still to find out 100%. 110 does not go into my 100%. Some people like to find out 10%. Some people like to find out 1%. It works the same. I work both for you to let you have a look. If I work out 10%, another scenario, I work out 1%. If I want to make 110 into 10, I'll divide it by 11. So I'll use 19.25 divided by 11 as well. It gives me 1.75. Then 10 to make 100, I times it by 10. So times it by 10, it will be 17.5. Remember, for money, you need 2 decimal places, so 17.50. And you may want to work out this way for 1%. So this time I'll divide it by 110. So 19.25 divided by 110, it'll give me 0.175. In order for me to find out 100%, I will times it by 100 times 100. And it is the same answer. So you can decide whether you want to figure out how to make into 10% or you just want to remember divided by the same number. If it's 99%, you will divide it by 99. If it's 123%, you will divide it by 123 to get to your 1%. So this is easier in this way, that you just need to divide it by the same number in front of the percentage. The other way, it is easier. In another way is your number is not going to a small decimal. So you can choose and pick. Now the final one is problem solving involving percentage. Percentage questions can involve or mix with ratio, perimeter, area, money, algebra, and a context. It's too many scenarios that I can't show you one by one. So you need to use your skill that you've just learned in the previous 7 sessions. And then you are going to combine with other knowledge to solve the problems. Just have a look of a couple. An exam has 2 papers. Somebody scored 33 out of 60 on paper 1 and 75 out of 100 on paper 2. Work out his percentage score for the exam. Most students will have a misconception here. They think that, they're going to find out the percentage on paper 1 and then add the paper 2 divided by 2, which is wrong. It's because the total percentage out of is not the same. Every mark worth different. It's not the same. If the total score is the same, then yes, you can do that. But the total score is not the same. You can't do the same thing. So what you need to do is you find out the total score he scored, and you find out the total for the total marks that he can achieve if he got 100%. The total score is 33 at 75. It's a calculator paper. You will have 108. The total mark, if you get full mark, will be 60 at 100, so 160. So now you know that you pretend it's one paper, it's 160, and then he achieved 108. How do we make it into a percentage? In calculator paper, you can times it by 100, or you can just put it in a calculator and then times it by 100. So 108 divided by 160 times it by 100 is 67.5. In case it's in a non-calculator paper or you need to know how it works, it will be, you find out the 1%, you find out your 100%. So you divide it by 160 and then times it by 100. Just a knowledge for you in case something similar in a non-calculator paper. But the number is going to be so much easier for you to work on. So another one. Joe and Kyle share an amount of money in the ratio of 7 to n. Joe gets 35% of the money. Kyle get more. Kyle got 65%. So when I read it, I know already Kyle's amount is more. So I'm expecting the number for n is bigger than 7. They ask you to work out the value of the n. So let's have a look. I draw here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to represent the 7 parts. That 7 parts represent 35%. So I have 7 boxes to fill. So if I share 35 by 7, 35 divided by 7, so I can find out what is each box should be. Each box should be 5. And I know that for Kyle, he will have 65%. So this actually is 65%. And I need to know 65% if each box is 5, how many boxes there will be. So if I have 65 divided by 5, 65 divided by 5, it will be 13. That means that it will be 13 boxes that they split into, n equal to 13. So that's all for the basic knowledge that you need for percentages. I hope that you find the video useful. Please share it to your friends. Please rewatch it for yourself. Please try to find some questions to do, or go to your teacher, ask where is the best place for you to work. Also, you can go to Wellacre Maths, click onto your year group, click onto the topic. You will find some more extra questions there. Always, you're welcome to come and see me as well. Okay, all the best. Speak to you in the next video. Bye.